Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. That's right, the guys are here talking football. That's kind of what you want. There's game reviews, game previews, game news. Well, not game news, football news. You know what I mean. Predictions. We're going to be predicting those games. That's right. All you could possibly want from a football podcast. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share the podcast around. That's the main one. If you like football, you know someone who likes football, send the podcast their way. They will love it. Right. Here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, the recording is in progress, which means it's back to another week of football-based nonsense right here on the CookieCast Podcast Network. As usual, it's just myself and Mr. Woodmansey joining you to go through the details of Hull, Nottingham Forest and Middlesbrough. Not necessarily in that order. How are we this week?
Yeah, still going. You?
Could be better, I'm assuming, is the upshot we'll take from that. But obviously, that will all become clear once we go through the results from last week. So, as I said in the past couple of weeks, still no Mr. Moore, but we will carry on going through the Nottingham Forest games without him. So we'll start with Nottingham Forest's foray into Europe. For the second leg against Fenerbahce in the Europa League, Forest went into this knowing that as long as they avoided defeat by less than 3 goals, they would go through to the last 16 of the competition. And boy, did they test the theory. Let's put it that way. They started off oddly nervous for a team that had a 3-goal cushion. I felt in this one, almost felt as if they just didn't realise that they could stifle the game and frustrate Fenerbahce out of the competition. But no, they just basically sat back and just let Fenerbahce just dick all over them, to be honest with you, for the first half. Couple of chances where Ortega was forced into a couple of saves, but it didn't take too long for Fenerbahce to open the scoring, as that took place on the 22nd minute. It was a breakaway down the right-hand side by Keris. He looked up and saw that Aktakoglu was free in the box. His little square ball across to the aforementioned Aktakoglu, took a touch, turned, finished low from about 8 yards out to the keeper's left, I believe. Didn't really give him much chance. There's a couple of chances. Excuse me. In the remainder of the first half, one for Elliot Anderson where he took a nice touch to get in behind the defender, and a bit of a snapshot across the keeper that just rolled past to the post with a good chance. Could have made it 1-1, but sadly Forest would go into the half-time break 0-1 down, and they had pretty much the worst possible start to the second half. They made 4 changes at half-time, Forest. And don't really know what was said, but it obviously didn't go in properly. As yes, like I said, 25 seconds into the second half, they conceded a penalty. Jaye Cunha, who was in as one of the centre halves, which pushed Murillo out to right back for some reason. Aina came on at the start of the second half in place of Murillo. Cunha brought down Aktakoglu. Not a great challenge. It looked harsh, but then upon second glance, he does just sort of like leave his knee in and that's kind of what overbalances the guy. So he picked himself up, dusted himself down, and dispatched his penalty clean past Ortega to make it 2-0 after 48 minutes. And obviously, Forest absolutely babbing their pants for the next hour at least, or 45 minutes, so to speak. They did manage to get themselves back into the contest on 68 minutes, and it was a finish from another one of the substitutes, Callum Hudson-Odoi. Good work by Aina down the right-hand side. He stood the ball up to Hudson-Odoi at the back stick, took a touch, moved it onto his left foot, and then finished low past the keeper into the bottom right-hand corner. I think it took a flick off Nelson Semedo at the back for Fenerbahce, so it kind of took it out of the keeper's reach. But that in its own right meant that Forest were back to having the 3-goal cushion. Was it back to having a 3-goal cushion? No, they're back to having a 2-goal cushion. Knowing that as long as they didn't concede 2 more, they would be going through. That is how the game finished. Hutchinson probably should have made it 2-2, as he was clean through after about 88 minutes. But the keeper proved a great save to keep the ball out. So annoyingly, it should have been 2-2. And even more annoying for me, we'll get to in a second. But it did finish 2-1 to Fenerbahce. Obviously, ultimately, the result on the night was not as important as the result on the tie as a whole. And it does mean that Forest go into the last 16 to play FC Midtjylland, who they did play earlier in the tournament. And if I flick through my book, I should be able to see what the result was there. I believe they lost, and I don't think Matt was too happy about it, to say the least. Yes, 2-3. They lost at home. So hopefully we'll get a better result the next time they play. I was speaking to another Forest fan that's not Mr. Moore. It is podcast alum Mr. James Panas, about the fact that over the course of 2 legs, you'd fancy Forest to have the beating of Midtjylland, but we'll wait and see. Predictions-wise, I'd gone for a 1-1 draw, with Asensio to score for Fenerbahce and Hutchinson to score for Forest. So you can imagine my consternation when he was clean through and decided to not stick it past the goalkeeper, as that would have grabbed me 2 points. The little slug. Stuart gone for a 1-0 home win, with Hudson-Odoi to score. So no points for the result, but does get a bonus point for the goal.
Do you know what's more annoying though?
Go on.
When you were reading out the scorers for Fenerbahce, and I was like, "Ooh, I think I had Aktakoglu because I remember making you spell that, and then realised that was definitely for the other fixture."
Certainly was.
Damn it.
Certainly was. So 1 point for Stu, no points for me after our first game. And our second game takes us to the weekend. And all these games are split over the course of 3 days, ladies and gentlemen. So our Saturday fixture took us to the south coast, and it was Portsmouth versus Hull City at a 12:30 kickoff, because obviously everyone knows Portsmouth from Hull is a sheer 20-minute jaunt down the road. Isn't it just?
And the other 4 hours, 5 hours, maybe?
No. They'd never do that to football fans.
The City put out a little video the day before, like literally like the Friday afternoon, and I'd remembered that last season, obviously we went, well, not I say we went, I didn't personally, but it was the last game of the season when they needed points to stay up, and the club had arranged for everybody that was going on the official transport to have like a little, like a treat bag, I guess, on the way there that had some snacks in it and stuff like that. And I seen this video start on the Facebook page, and I'm thinking, oh, that's nice. They're going to do it again. And it was basically John Egan saying, thanks very much for your support tomorrow. We've seen there's a few ticket sales. Me and the lads will see you down there. Cheers. It's like, oh, okay then. So no freebies for the long journey this time. Just a chirpy message from an Irishman. However, we shall get to the game. So yeah, Hull went into this one on the back of 4 away wins in a row. Obviously, there was some home wins and defeats chucked in there too, but in terms of away games, 4 in a row. And they were looking to better that 1-1 result on that ground last season, which ended up keeping us up by, I think when the calculations were done, approximately half a coat of paint. Hull did start brightly. They had a chance after 44 seconds. Kumas got down the left, played in a low cross for Gelhardt, who just smashed it straight at the keeper when it was probably easier to hit any other part of the goal. So, still making chances from the off. That's what you like to see. And from that shot, though, which bounced out off the keeper, McBurney headed in the rebound to make it 0-1. And until the linesman raised his flag for offside. So that was unfortunate. It would have been the perfect start, not quite to be. Because from that point onwards, so what, 45 seconds into the game, until half time, Portsmouth had 14 shots and 69% of the possession. So, yeah, I know that we've adopted this thing of sitting back and letting teams play on us and then we'll go on the counter. It works, but Jesus Christ, sometimes when it goes that badly, it is not fun to watch. Pando made saves from Swanson, then Devlin. The latter's shot was fumbled. Bishop tried to convert the rebound and appealed for a penalty for shirt pulling. I've seen it back a few times. The reason it wasn't given, pal, is because you were absolutely doing it first. So, yeah, nice try. There's kind of Hull did kind of well, really, even though they sat back with all them shots because everything was kind of restricted to kind of long range stuff, which was dealt with fairly easily. And they managed to get to half time at 0-0. So, not better in that result so far because whilst it would still be a draw at this point, no goals. The second half, the Portsmouth barrage continued. Corners being won, and thankfully chances for the home side being spurned. Bishop once again guilty of not converting at the back post. One of the corners had beaten everybody in the middle, and he managed to completely miss, so that was fine. But then Hull went 1-0 up against the run of play. 73 minutes in, McBurney put the keeper under a bit of pressure after a really short back pass from Segacic, and the ball came out to Crooks, and he scored, just as he did in the season finale last year. So 1-0 to Hull. A couple of other half chances for the home side didn't go in, and Hull did manage to hang on. So it was the fifth away win in a row, which is the best run of away games since 1966. And you know what happened in 1966, ladies and gentlemen? Hull won 4 away games in a row. So.
You love to see it, you really do. Podcast predictions. No one had predicted a Hull City win, so no one got any points for the result. And sadly for us, no one had predicted a Matt Crooks goal, which seems weird because we should have known that he would score because he did last season. I'd gone 2-2 with Caballero, Ali, Slater, and Kumas. Stuart gone 1-1 with Bishop and Gelhardt. So no points for either of us, keeping it at 1-0 to Stu. Third game of the week took us to Sunday, live on the Sky Sports telly box for Brighton and Hove Albion versus Nottingham Forest. This was one of those lesser spotted scenarios where all three of our teams were on the box this weekend. Nice to see. So yes, Brighton and Hove Albion versus Nottingham Forest. Forest went into this one hoping for a positive result, to put some more distance between themselves and the bottom three. Just going off the back of the results that had happened the day before, I believe West Ham had lost on the Saturday. So Forest went into this one knowing they were any sort of positive result would give them. West Ham had lost 5-2 at Liverpool on the Saturday. So, like I say, Forest went into this knowing any sort of positive result would put a little bit more distance between themselves and West Ham in the bottom three. So, of course, They went 1-0 down after 6 minutes. Little ball over the top, wasn't properly dealt with by Nico Williams. Little fell to, I think, is it Jordi Gomez? Let me just double check his name. Diego Gomez. Apologies. I think he tried to get a shot away, but it was blocked. The ball sort of pinged around on the edge of the box. Eventually made its way back to Gomez. The ball sat up. He was just on the just inside the corner of the box, and he took it first time, shot across the keeper into the corner. Keeper got a touch on it. Wasn't able to keep out of the back of the net. This was Matt Sells, not Ortega, back in the team. Apparently, they'd rushed him back from his injury concerns, Matt Sells, and I don't know if it's a bit of ring rust or lack of game time, but yeah, it wasn't at his best for the opener, sadly. So Gomez at 6 minutes, 1-0 Brighton and Hove Albion. Forest got themselves back into it. About 7 minutes later, it was Morgan Gibbs-White with an absolute wonder strike. A little breakaway by Igor Jesus down the left-hand side. His little square ball inside to Gibbs-White. About 25, 30 yards out. Gibbs-White took a touch, brought it inside, and then just unleashed one of those ones where you cut across it. Spun off. Took the keeper out of it, no chance. Slammed into the back of it from about 20 yards out. Very, very good finish. Made it 1-1. So at that point, you were just thinking, nice. Just keep it tight for a little bit of time. Pick them apart. Eventually go on and get the second goal. So, of course, they found themselves 2-1 down, 15 minutes in. So they managed to keep Brighton out for a combined total of about 90 seconds. A deep cross from the left back of Brighton was cushioned back by Hinchelwood. Smart touch from Welbeck. Turn and finish from about 6 yards out. A very good finish from Welbeck, to be fair. Did make it 2-1 to Brighton. Like I say, a very, very fast-paced opening 15 minutes. I don't think there was much that happened in the remaining 75, however, as the next note I've got is that a one you could have equalised on 85 minutes. So clearly it wasn't a barn burner after the first 15 minutes. The ball was stood up into the box and a one planted his header firmly wide of the target. And that was Forest's last chance to get anything from the game. So Brighton 2-1 winners. Forest still very much in danger down at the bottom of the league. Predictions wise, it's not looking good again. Stuart gone for a 1-1 draw with Mitoma and Igor Jesus. I'd gone for a 2-1 Forest win with Mitoma, Igor Jesus, and Luca. So it's no points. So still just Stu with that solitary point from the very first game. Fourth game of the week took us to Monday night, and it was Birmingham City versus Middlesbrough. And as seems to be the case with Borough games this season, one of the teams started out like a bit of a train. Wasn't the Borough. Birmingham very much on the front foot for the opening 5 minutes of this one. Smart save from Bryn. I forget who it was that had the effort that was on tank. Probably Dooch. No, it wasn't. It was Callum Doyle. Sorry. His effort was smartly saved, tipped wide, tipped around the post. Sorry, by Sol Bryn. They had another chance, but I don't think it came to much. And it was actually Borough who took the lead against the run of play on the 13th minute. It was a great ball over the top from Aidan Morris. He was in towards the sort of the back third of the Borough box, just outside the edge of the box. Spotted that Matt Targett playing in left wing back role as opposed to his left back role that he's been playing for the majority of the season. Found himself in behind. Stansfield had let his runner go, that kind of passed him on. So Targett had the space to run into. Morris clipped the ball over the top. Targett took a touch, sprung the offside trap, and finished it really well. For saying he's not a striker, he sort of drew the keeper, slipped it low to his left to make it 1-0 to the Borough. and it was 2 on 26 minutes. A bit of loose play by Birmingham on the edge of their own box. Eventually, the ball brought to Hayden Hackney inside the box, just on the right hand side. He spotted a man streaking away in acres of space on his left hand side. Just happened to be Matt Targett again, ladies and gentlemen. That's correct. The left back up there. 2 goals in the opening 26 minutes. The square ball from Hackney found its way to Matt Targett, and he finished from about 7-8 yards out to make it 2-0 to the Borough. It was a strange atmosphere, because as soon as Borough went 2-0 up, the Birmingham the crowd seemed to really get on the Birmingham keeper's back. He was trying to play little cute balls out and play from the back, but they just kept giving it away. So of course he goes and pumps it long and just kicks it straight into touch, and of course the crowd start booing. So how was he supposed to win? Very strange. So 2-0 at half time to the Borough, and very much similar to how the Fenerbahce game had gone for Nottingham Forest. Borough found themselves conceding after a couple of minutes of the second half. It was Dukes who got the goal on 48 minutes. A lovely ball to Jay Stansfield down the right-hand side. His ball, he noticed that Dukes was making a run to the edge of the box. He played a lovely little cut back to the edge of the box for Dukes to finish first time, low to Solbrin's left-hand side, one of those ones where it kind of uses the keeper's momentum against him. Bren did get a touch on it. Could maybe have done a little bit better, but just wasn't able to keep it out. So 2-1 to Birmingham. Dukes had another chance from the edge of the box, which Bryn had to get down smartly to push wide. So Birmingham very much in the ascendancy. And once again, it was Borough that scored against the run of play. A nice teasing ball in from the left-hand side from Luke Ayling. And it was a great header from around about the penalty spot from David Strelec, who was caught on camera. Some eagle-eyed supporters noticed that he was wearing a shirt with a completely different sponsor to the rest of the first team. Turns out that the kit man had accidentally grabbed an under-18s shirt by mistake when picking up Strelec's number. So yes, that is apparently getting auctioned by the club, and the proceeds will go to charity, from what I'm told. So 60 minutes in, 3-1 to the Borough. There was a slight sort of strange situation about 6 minutes from the end when ball came over the top, and Sol Bryn, learning from his mistakes from the Coventry game a couple of weeks ago, decided to come out of his area and take command. Ended up with him being about 40 yards out from goal and giving away a free kick. Yeah, it was just a strange scenario. I think if he'd have brought a guy down, might have ended up with a red card, but he didn't. So luckily, no ban incoming for Mr. Bryn. So game panned out to a 3-1 win for the Borough. Very important, as they needed to win that game to keep the gap at the top to Ipswich, 6 points with their 2 games in hand. Predictions-wise, I'd gone for a 2-1 Birmingham win with Dukes and Roberts to score for Birmingham, McGree to score for Borough, so I get a bonus point for the Dukes goal. Stu had gone for a 2-1 Borough win with Gray, Conway and Hackney to score, so just gets a point for the result. 2 games. Excuse me. 2 games left. Do you want to take a small break before we dive into Ipswich versus Hull? Or do you reckon you can rattle through that one nice and fast?
Ipswich versus Hull we'll get that rattled off, and then we'll have a little reset, shall we? So, as Paul mentions, that was the next game that was played on Tuesday night. Both teams on equal points at the start of the fixture. However, Ipswich with a couple of games in hand, I believe.
Certainly on Borough.
So yeah, it was up there. It was basically, it wasn't necessarily a must win, I don't think, for Hull, but it was we'd prefer not to lose situation. However, in the home fixture like for Hull earlier in the season. We got absolutely thumped, played off the park really. So it was a bit of a strange one. Um, Early stages of the game was very much end to end. The Ipswich skipper Darrow O'Shea had to put a stop to a Hull attack before then charging out from the back himself. Ended up trying to feed through a galley. Is that right? Pronunciation?
Yeah, I think that's how it's
A
pronounced. Yeah.
galley. But his shot was blocked by Louis Coyle. Went out for a corner, but then shortly after that, Ipswich still in the ascendancy. A lot of passing between Jack Taylor, Nunez, and George Hurst. Led to a half chance for Jack Taylor, but he managed to drag that shot narrowly wide. So City with a bit of a let off, and even more so of a let off when Hull decided to basically give Ipswich the ball right near the corner flag. Just a bit of a switch off, really. Just basically picked his pocket and ball was played in. Hurst had the first time shot, but it ended up going straight at Panda, which was thankful for Hull because that was very, very, very tight. Yeah, at the other end, Lewis Kumas tried to do exactly the same thing this time to O'Shea, and then darted into the penalty area, but
Matasiwa. Yeah.
Matusiwa swept the ball away. Corner was punched clear afterwards, so it didn't really come to much. Liam Miller, decent run. He managed to basically charge into the box, but missed. And then shortly after, Jack Clark was fouled outside the penalty area by Cody Dramé at the other end. But the free kick was caught by the keeper, so that was all fine. Later on into the game, Matu Siwa again, that man. It was always probably gonna be one of them games where one goal was gonna win it. And unfortunately for Hull, the goal came from Ipswich when I say Matasiwa absolutely wanged it in the top right hand corner. It just grazed the underside of the bar on its way in. It was an absolute rocket from about 25, 30 yards. But yeah, it was one of them goals that kind of deserves to win a game. Sometimes you've got to just step back and say, fair enough, mate. It was a good strike. But that all came after one of the substitutes, Anis Mehmeti, had sort of danced his way through the left-hand side of the penalty area. And then the ball came loose and it was laid into the path for Matasiwa to smash it home. It should have been 2-0 to Ipswich just moments later. Jack Clark shot, basically, Panda was scrambling over to his right hand stick. Jack Clark had most of the goal to aim at, and Panda was already going down to try and like dive to make up some space by the time that the ball left his Jack Clark's foot. And thankfully, his sort of anticipation was bang on the money because he saved it perfectly. However, it did go back out to Jack Clark for another stab at the cherry, and he smashed it against the bottom of the post. Annoyingly, after that cracking save, Hull couldn't really do anything else. The game was won by the singular goal, brings to an end Hull's away game winning streak, and also pushes us into the following week with games against teams that are just above and just below them. So big week incoming. But yeah, a 1-0 loss, and yeah, that's it.
Yes, not ideal for Hull or for my team, as that puts Ipswich just 3 points behind Borough with a superior goal difference and a game in hand. I'd gone for a 1-1 draw. Akpom and Gelhardt to score, so no points for me. Stuart gone for a 2-1 win. Never in his right mind would he have picked Matasiwa to score. So Stuart just gets the bonus point. The point for the correct result. So that's 3 points for Stu, 1 point for me, with one game left to go. We will take a very short break and then come straight back at you with Man City versus Nottingham Forest. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And just like that, the break is over and we are back. So, like we said, one game left to cover from week 27, and it just so happened to be Manchester City versus Nottingham Forest. Obviously, Forest went into this one knowing that they potentially would need to get something out of this to keep themselves out of the bottom three. And they managed to keep Man City at bay for the first half an hour. Sadly, on 31 minutes, they weren't able to keep them at bay any longer as Semenyo got the opening goal of the game. Worked down the right-hand side from Man City, ended up with the ball at Cherki's feet. His cross found Semenyo on around the penalty spot to just sort of like tuck home first time from Cherki's cross. So 1-0 to 1-0 to Man City at half time. Surprisingly enough, though, Forest managed to get it back to one each into the second half. Cross to the back post, saw Igor Jesus connect with a header to cushion it down into the path of Morgan Gibbs-White, who got at his feet and cheeky little back heel finish after he turned on the defender on 56 minutes to make it 1-1. Kind of similar to their efforts on Sunday against Brighton, however, they weren't able to keep Man City at bay for too long, as on the 62nd minute, Rodri headed in a corner from the right-hand side. He'd peeled off towards the back stick and just planted his header firmly into the back of the net to make it 2-1 to Man City. Forest plugged away, though, kept trying to find a second equaliser, and they were rewarded for their efforts on the 76th minute when Elliot Anderson picked the ball up just outside the centre circle and went on a bit of a drive, bit of a mazy run. Got it back onto his right foot and finished low from about 20-25 yards out. Nice finish as well. I think he sort of used Gay to sort of his advantage and started it just outside him and shaped it round him into the bottom right hand corner to make it 2-2. City pressed, trying to get a winner. Had a couple of shots for a penalty for a tug on Erling Haaland. Potentially lucky from Forest that they didn't give away a penalty when Anderson had a little bit of a late challenge on Rodri, as Rodri was trying to strike the ball towards the end of the game. And almost literally with the last kick of the game, City had a chance to score, but Murillo managed to get himself back on the line to hack away a ball that was destined for the back of the net. And Man City weren't able to break Forest down for a third time. So Forest did indeed hold out for a very unexpected point away at the Etihad. So 2-2 it finished, and that point, coupled with a West Ham win, does mean that Forest do stay out of the relegation zone for now, but at the moment it is just on goal difference. Both themselves and West Ham, I believe, are on 28 points. Yes, 28 points from 29 games played. Identical records, won 7, drawn 7, lost 15. Forest goal difference of -15 compared to West Ham's goal difference of -19 is what's currently keeping Forest out of the bottom three. It's not very good for me on the predictions, as I'd gone for a 4-0 4-0 City win. I wish I had gone for a 4-0 Forest win. And none of my Haaland, Cherki, Marmoush, or Foden goal scorers came to pass. Stuart gone for a 3-1 Man City win with Haaland, Semenyo, Marmoush, and Luca as his goal scorers. So Doug does bag himself a bonus point for the Semenyo goal, which means that at the end of the 6 games from week 27, I had 1 solitary point. From the 4th game, Stu had 4 points from the 6 games, giving him a very decent 4-1 win. Well played.
I think that's the first time I've won the predictions in ages.
We had a couple of draws, didn't we?
Mm.
And I think I've snuck a couple of wins. But since we don't track the wins, it basically means bugger all. So, easy come, easy go. Week 28. It's not as long a week this week. Just got 4 games, but it is 2 apiece for Hull and the Borough. No Forest game this week, as they are not involved in the FA Cup anymore, sadly. So, we go to Saturday, and the first game, which I believe, just double checking my notes, it is indeed a 12:30 kickoff, because again, everyone knows that London is just round the corner from Hull. So
It's a little bit nearer than Portsmouth, though.
Yeah, not by much.
I'm sure the
Yes.
I'm sure the train conductors will be really enjoying that direct Hull to London.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
early hours on Saturday.
won't they just? Um, does it mean that the travelling Millwall cohorts won't have that much time to get tanked up on ale? Oh, I'm sure they'll do their best, just on the safe side. So yes, Hull versus Millwall, 12:30 kickoff, and it is 4th playing 5th in the championship. Let's have a look at the form guide. Obviously, if we take Hull's Ipswich defeat aside, they come into it with 2 wins out of the last 3. Millwall also 2 wins out of the last 3. So 2 kind of form teams in the division. You'd have to say on paper. It's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will give his prediction last. I've gone for a 2-1 win here. And I've gone for the home team to get it. I think it'll be one of those games where, because they're both good teams at the right end of the table, they'll probably cancel each other out for the majority of it. But it could just be that a little bit of quality from either team is what wins it. So I've gone for a 2-1 win for Hull. I've gone for Crooks and Gelhardt to score. And I've gone for Aziz to score for Millwall. Feels like Gelhardt hasn't scored for a while. Did he score against QPR?
Yes, it was.
2 games ago, 3 games ago?
It was the epitome of one of those ones that might as well have gone in off his ass.
Yes.
That was the goal where Hirakawa scuffed his low cross, and then Gelhardt went to absolutely slap it into the net, and it sort of skimmed off the edge of his boot and still crept in. So it wasn't a clean finish, but no, he's definitely due. He's not been playing badly. It's just that there's not been creating chances, but not necessarily for him. He's been playing back out wide again rather than sort of as the number 10, which I think is where he probably does a little bit better when he's brought inside a little further, but we'll see.
Your thoughts?
I have gone for a 1-1 draw. This will be off the back of, I love it when they do an early kickoff because it means that I have to rush around on Saturday morning. Yeah. So no, I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I've gone for the same Millwall goal scorer. We have both picked Aziz. I suppose these things are as easily done. And McBurney for Hull. Because he is also overdue, I feel. He's again not been playing badly, but hasn't scored since the last home game. Like 3 games.
Well, he keeps scoring. But he keeps scoring, but he keeps getting them chalked off, doesn't he? So
Yeah. But yeah, I think he was the was he not the QPR game as well, like three games ago?
I believe that is correct. Oh, excuse me. So that's our only Saturday game, which means that we move to Sunday at 4:30. It's not a Premier League fixture, although it is in the Premier League fixture slot. It's obviously FA Cup weekend, so Sky obviously need the biggest games they can possibly get. Enter the Borough That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Queen's Park Rangers versus Middlesbrough. So yes, everyone knows that London to Teesside at 6-7 p.m. on a Sunday is one of the easier journeys to make. No thanks. Obviously, it's my team, so I'll give my prediction second. Stu, what have you got down for QPR versus Middlesbrough?
1-2.
Mm.
I've got McGree and Acne for the Borough and Saito for QPR. Looking at the lineup,
Interesting.
thinking that Aliens had a bit of a shocker the last game or so. So I picked the player that was playing on or will be playing on his side in theory.
Mm. He wasn't great against Cov, and then backed that up with a poor again performance against Leicester, but he did make up for it by being quite solid in that Birmingham game, and obviously provided one of the assists, an assist for one of the goals. So hopefully, his little patch of shaky form is behind him,
Mm.
and hopefully he'll kick on and have a nice positive end to the season. Let's put it that way. There must be something in it because I too have picked Saito as one of my goal scorers in my prediction. But sadly for Borough, I've gone for a 2-2 draw. I've got an odd feeling about this game. The fact that they've moved it to an odd kickoff time doesn't sit well with me. Travelling to the capital as well. QPR are a weird team.
Yep.
Like
They are the Bristol City of London.
Big time. In their last 6 games, they have had 2 wins. Sorry, 2 wins, three defeats, and a draw. In that time, they have played Coventry, Charlton, Blackburn, Hull, Southampton, and Sheffield United. If you had to guess the teams that they won against, that's correct. It's not Blackburn and Charlton that are in the bottom 5. It's Hull and Coventry that at the time were in the top 3.
Yep.
Make any sense of that? They lost at home to Blackburn. They lost at home to Blackburn 3-1. They lost at home to Sheffield United 2-0. They lost away at Southampton 5-0. And I've gone for a 2-2 draw here.
So I mean,
I
like
just don't.
it must be so frustrating. Like I always pick on Bristol because I feel like they do it the most in the division. But I know like it's an easy thing for us to say, and we've said it about our own teams many times. Like, oh well, it depends if they turn up or not. But Jesus Christ, those teams could be the same 11 on paper 2 weeks running, and 1 week they'll go out and have an absolute stormer and win by 2 or 3 goals, and the next week against a lower opposition they'll get dicked by the same amount. Like it's just they're so hot and cold. Like I from a separate standpoint, will never ever pick a game that either of those sides are in on a coupon for that very reason. So
No, it's a weird one in that there's like last season aside, obviously when they finished 6th and got into the playoffs. Bristol City are one of 4 teams for me that you can pretty much put in the sort of 12th to 15th sort of place finish most seasons in the Championship. It's Bristol City, it's QPR, and then it's Preston and Stoke. They're always in that little sort of like middle of the pack, mid-range team.
And can chuck of late you can chuck Norwich and Watford in that bin as well.
So yes, I've gone 2-2. I've gone for Saito and Kone for QPR, and then I've gone for Strelec and Britain for the Borough. Don't know if it's just because one fullback or wing-back scored against Birmingham that I feel the other one's due to score at some point. We then move to midweek fixtures, and there's one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday for our teams. So the first of which sees Wrexham versus Hull City. Wrexham will go into this off the back of a game in the Cup on Saturday. Let me just
Against
check.
Chelsea, it is. It's on the night time.
Yes, 5:45 p.m. kickoff in the Cup at home to Chelsea. So, dare I suggest maybe their sights might not fully be on Hull next week at this point. More full then. Obviously, it's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will give his prediction last. I've gone for a Wrexham 2-1 win in this one. Wrexham seem to have a really, really good home form. They did lose against Millwall, which is obviously another team that is above them in the table. But they beat Ipswich at home twice in the space of 3 games. And they do seem to be annoyingly in a good patch of form at the moment. So I've gone for a 2-1 win. I've gone for Thomason and Rathbone to score for Wrexham, and then I've gone for McBurney to score for Hull. McBurney strikes me as one of those guys that I imagine that Wrexham might have looked at as a potential signing when he was coming back to the league from Spain. What have you gone for? Wrexham, Hull?
Well, obviously we've played them a lot already this year because we played them at their place in the cup early doors when we were coasting, and then they managed to get the 94th minute equaliser or whatever it was and ended up winning on pens. Then obviously a very special game in December because it was the game that my boys were mascots for at home when Hull absolutely pissed all over their chips. Kiefer Moore missing a penalty that night and just being generally crap was lovely to see in person. I don't know. I did sort of float this to the better half this week in the sense of, I wonder if there's any tickets still available for a Tuesday drive to North Wales, and she sort of was like, "What?" So yeah, safe to say I'm not going. But I've got it down for a 2-2 draw.
Mm.
There's been goals in all of the games so far
Mm.
this season, so I just went on that premise really. Because he was so crap, and I have talked about it. Clearly, I've picked Kiefer Moore to score for Wrexham, and Ollie Rathbone as well.
Mm-hmm.
For Hull, I've gone for Crooks and I've gone for Gelhardt.
Crooks and Gelhardt. Lovely stuff. Which brings us to our last game of the week, which sees us on a Wednesday with Middlesbrough versus Charlton Athletic. Obviously, it's my team, so I will give the last prediction of the week. So we'll go straight back to Mr. Woodmansey for his prediction on Middlesbrough versus Charlton.
2-0, please. I've gone for McGree and Strelec.
Very nice. I'm in agreement, but I've added on an extra goal for the Borough. I've gone for 3-0. I know they've struggled against teams that are in the bottom sort of 6 or so in the last couple of games, not beating Oxford or Leicester. But I'm hopeful that sort of win against Birmingham will sort of reignite the fire, so to speak, and hopefully they'll be able to turn it into 3 very much needed points against Charlton. I too have gone for McGree, but then I've also gone for Hackney and Morris. I am convinced that Aidan Morris will score for the Borough before the end of the season. So I'm going to keep picking him until he does. Because at least once a game, he ends up sort of on the edge of the box. And his strikes are getting closer each time. Like one of them, like his first one probably ended up at the corner flag. Then the next one was probably like, the edge of the 18-yard box. Then it was the edge of the 6-yard box. He had one a couple of weeks ago that flashed just over the bar. So I'm thinking he's going to Matt Seamer one into the top bins at some point, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be right front and centre for it because I imagine he might go a little bit. He might go a little bit nuts. So there you go. That is your predictions for week 28 done and dusted. Do you have anything else that you'd like to discuss or bring to the table, as it were?
I don't think there was anything this week, unless you know of anything.
I haven't got anything written down. Let me just have a quick check of the old Borough
It's
app
it's been
website to see
fairly
if anything's
quiet
popped up.
again. I think because even though it's not the festive period, it definitely very much feels like there's a lot of games coming thick and fast at the moment. So there's almost apart from injuries, which in the Ipswich game, Louis Coyle picked up a knock and had to come off in the first half. So it'd be interesting to see if that works out. And he is back fit for the weekend. But on the injury front, Hull are getting slammed again at the moment because in the game, particularly I think it was the game at the weekend, they named two goalkeepers on the bench just so they could fill the slots up, and it was the under 21s keeper, decent keeper, seen him play, but when you're having to drop your under 21s player like your keeper on the bench, you know that as the old adage goes, shit's got real because. But we've got to be due some back. Obviously, Crooks has come back, which is great. But with Crooks coming one way, obviously Louis might be going the other way, and then
Mm,
we've got Hirakawa probably for the season now because of the ankle thing. Ryan Giles absolutely mullered his hamstring, and he'll probably be struggling to get back for the end of the season now because of
yeah.
timing. And even if he is, he probably ain't going to be firing on all cylinders. Elliot Matazo, still yet to see him this season after his injury last year, and every time you see him, he's on the training pitch, he's in all the pictures, he's definitely getting nearer. But former Champions League player and in our squad, and still hasn't played a game for us this season. Getting him back will be like having a
Mm.
new signing when the time comes. Obviously,
Yeah.
Balumi still with his injury, so it's there's nothing else to report other than the fact that the doctor's room is filling up again, which is a bit of a shame.
Mm. I suppose like, the only sort of way that you can look at it from a positive perspective is that if they are able to keep themselves in and around the playoffs, having fresh squad players back for a little late season surge could almost be like you say, could almost be like new signings and stuff like that, like to
I,
give them that little sort of a kick on.
the way that I've sort of tried to look at it is that it's it's still a bit of a sort of a free hit season because of the
Mm.
having the hands tied behind the back with the transfer embargo. There were favourites to go down. Nobody expected City to be where they are right now. So yes, it would be a travesty if they didn't make the playoffs, given the way that they've performed and stuff. But if the transfer embargo's only sort of detriment this season is to sort of come in now, I'd much rather be having the problem of dropping out of the playoffs than having the problem of dropping out of the league, as
Mm.
was expected. So we'll see how it goes. I'm still pretty optimistic. I think this next week will be a massive, massive point in the season because they've already lost to Ipswich, as we know. I think the next two games just get bigger and bigger as they go on now. Particularly as Paul was saying earlier, Millwall in good form, Wrexham certainly in good form. If they can, even if they can get 3 points out of the next six available, that's win one of the games at the very least. I think that with the other results and stuff, I think that should be enough to keep them in touch at least for now.
Mm. I'll just have a quick look at the table just to sort of like see what the situation is. So you've still got Cov top, 35 played, 71 points. Borough second, 35 played, 66 points. You then got Ipswich, 34 played, 63 points. Millwall, Hull, and Wrexham are the teams that make up the remainder of the playoffs. Each played 35 on 62, 60, and 57 points respectively. Then there is a bit of a gap starting to build between the sort of the top six and the chasing pack. So you've got Southampton seventh on 53 points from 35 played. A little bit of a drop to Derby, Watford, and Bristol City actually in 10th. They're on 51, 51, and 50. You've got Preston on 49 points. Birmingham on 49 points. Sheffield United on 48 points. So I'd say anyone that's within, I suppose you'd say anyone within 9 points of the playoffs, I would imagine, at this point, would probably still class themselves as being in and amongst it.
Well, because we're coming, I mean, we're steamrolling now towards Easter, and there's always that team that Easter weekend, there's the two games in quick succession, usually has a bit of a spurt if they get a couple of good results and ends up scraping into the playoffs. A la, again, Bristol City or Preston, as it might have been previously. But Preston have really dropped off compared to what they were, haven't they? They were really up there.
Yeah, they're not the ones that have dropped off the most. If you think about it, like I think there was a screenshot of when we played Coventry earlier in the season. Cov were top. They had a 10-point cushion over Borough in third, and the team in second was Stoke.
Yeah.
And Stoke now find themselves in 14th on 47 points. So actually, I was going to say they're closer to the bottom three than they are the playoffs, but that would be a lie. So yeah, I mean, you could even make an argument that Norwich on 45 points aren't dead and buried for the playoffs. With the fact they're in such good form, they're just hampered by the fact they had a horrendous start to the season, similar to Sheffield United, really.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Sheffield United have already lost 17 games this season.
Oh,
that's mental.
You have just jogged my memory for something else that did come up this week, actually. Former Hull City and Sheffield United manager.
Yes.
Ruben Sayers did he go to Spain for his job?
Was it Rayo Vallecano?
Essentially. I can't remember without having to read this out, but no, Real Zaragoza.
Zaragoza, that was it. I knew there was like a Real or a Rayo or something in there.
So obviously he kept us up by the skin of our teeth last season, as we talked about earlier at Portsmouth. Harshly, in some people's eyes, adjudged to have been then let go by Ajun, and everybody thought he was a madman again for bringing in this guy that we've never heard of. Well, it turns out it was an absolute masterstroke, because every single person I would suggest is very much enjoying the work of Sergei Yakirovich. And Ruben Sayers moved on to Sheffield United, who was supposed to be coaching, but seemingly just went on some sort of destructive mission. And I think was it 15 games or something he got, and he was winless.
No, I don't even think it was that many. I think it was. Let's just have a look. I just had it then.
Well, he didn't win a game in charge of Sheffield United, from what I've.
No, they definitely lost their opening 5, I think. Because I can't remember if he got the bullet after they lost against the Borough, and that was the 5th game of the season, I think. But yeah, it was not a great opening start to the season for him. Let's put it that way.
And then Zaragoza took him on, and so for the 3rd time in 10 months, he has been sacked. His compensation payouts must be keeping him ticking over nicely.
Yes.
Of his last 28 games as a manager, 5 wins. What is it? It's a bit of a spanking, isn't it?
I'd say management isn't, not everyone's cut out to be a manager. But then again, he got the whole job after doing a good job at Reading. So,
well, interestingly enough, if you Google him, like when you use Google, it comes up with the questions that have been asked with regards to what you've searched for. What the top question is, why did Ruben Sayers leave Reading? It's a question I'm sure he's asking himself every day at this point in time.
Yeah. Well, I can't say something because, I left Reading at the same time. So, well, not at the same time. Much earlier.
You set the precedent. You set the precedent.
Yeah, true. Very true. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That brings us to an end, that brings us to the end, of another week here on the CookieCast Football Podcast. Thank you, as always, to Mr. Woodmansey for joining me to go through the ins, outs, ups and downs of Middlesbrough, Hull and Nottingham Forest. Join us again next week where we'll go through those results that we just predicted there, or those games, that we just predicted there, and we'll have some more predictions coming your way for the following week. Until then, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you in another week's time. Tatty bye for now.
So there you go. What do you think of that? Another one done. Another one gone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Before you leave us, do consider like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.